Good evening and welcome to our YouTube channel, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Tonight we have episode 13 of Horror on the Orient Express, with yours truly as the GM. Our recap tonight is presented by Jeff Wilkins. Jeff.
Thanks, Tom. So our last episode started off with the Duke, I'm not going to pronounce his real name, full name, offering us a tour of Lausanne. We saw the local cathedral, several other of the sites. One of those sites included seeing a statue that was missing its arms and a sword of Otto the Godson. He also showed us the local library, and then he drops us off at the Le Chat Noir, the cafe that we're scheduled to meet Edgar at later that evening. Around 7:30 p.m., we head over to Le Chat Noir for our meeting. We meet a new person there. His name is Max von Wertheim, who was waiting for us. We waited for Edgar and Duke to arrive, and in the meantime, we ordered drinks, made idle chit-chat. We ordered dinner, and there's more talking, and eventually Max excuses himself, and after several minutes, Frank notices Max walking down the street outside. He stiffed us. As Dr. Dawkins suspected, he thinks Max was specifically sent to delay us and keep us occupied as long as possible. We're suspicious now of Edgar and the Duke, so we decide to check up on Edgar at his taxidermy shop. We walk over to the shop, only to find the lights are off and it's dark inside, but the front door is slightly ajar. We decide to enter. Nothing was found on the first floor, so we decided to check upstairs. As Frank walks upstairs, he steps in a pool of blood, and he finds a body laying on the floor of the kitchen. There was a bloody kitchen knife on the floor, and it's Edgar's brother, William, who's on the floor. William's body is missing two large strips of skin from his back. Next, we checked the other two bedrooms. One was empty. The other one was Edgar's, and we see Edgar lying on his bed. He's dead. Upon closer inspection, we deduce that he has been drugged. We find two bottles on the nightstand. One is morphine, and there's another little green bottle labeled Dream Lausanne. With a little more investigation, we see under the bed is a pen, a bottle of ink, some sealing wax, and a paper scroll. We determine that the scroll is all new, and it seems Edgar was in the process of maybe making a copy of the original Sedefkar scroll. We also found Edgar's journal. Dr. Dawkins suspects that the original scroll is in fact in the Dreamlands. We decide to leave Edgar's house the way we found it, and we head back to our hotel. Dr. Dawkins comes up with a good idea for storing our statue arm in the Dreamlands. The investigators decided they were going to risk taking the green liquid drug to maybe get into the Dreamlands. Dr. Giles, with his medical background, will stay in the waking world and monitor our vitals. The investigators do, in fact, make it to the Dreamlands version of Lausanne. Things are similar in layout, but the materials are like crude stone carvings. There are other doors, and they're just like painted on the wall. Outside the window is mostly a faint white nothingness. Frank tries to bring a pen with him into the Dreamlands, but it did not work. We head out of the hotel. Approximately 50 feet in front of the hotel door is another door, just sort of standing in the middle of nowhere. Dr. Dawkins arrives at the door and opens it towards himself, and it's a doorway into another town. It's dark, and there's the sound of a church bell chiming. And that's where we left off.
All right. So as you look through the door, what you realize is that you're looking into Lausanne. But it's Lausanne from a long time ago. The streets are cobblestone, the buildings are more primitive, their roofs are made of thatch. And you also realize from your location that if you continued in a sort of a straight line, you'd be going up the hillside towards the church. But just to your left is the Wellington taxidermy shop, or at least what would correspond to that in this place. So what do? You do notice there are other people here, and at the moment they're all walking up towards the church.
Now, do these people look normal, or are they dressed at a certain time period, or
they look like they're dressed in like old medieval clothes.
Okay.
And they have kind of blank stares on their face.
Okay.
They're not talking to each other or anything like that. They're just.
They look like they're they're looking like they're in a trance or something.
Yeah, kinda.
Okay. You said that his shop, or the equivalent of his shop, is nearby.
Yes, right next to the door that you're coming out of.
I'm good. I suggest to Frank and to Mr. Eldridge, why don't we check his taxidermy shop, or the equivalent of his taxidermy shop, first, and then we can walk towards the church.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep. It's all like normal lighting, like you said?
No, it's very weird. The sky is not normal. The sky is, I'm not sure if it's cloudy or if it's just sort of a swirling gray mass of, it sort of swirls and boils like clouds, but there's no features. And the light seems to be sort of, you can't really tell where the light is coming from. The whole scene seems quite surreal. And whereas, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, is there any feelings of, like, does it feel ominous, or do we feel kind of like this is normal?
It feels, yeah, it feels ominous. I mean, it's not the pleasant feelings you get from, like, the Dreamlands when you were there before.
So it
doesn't quite have the same feeling because things seem incomplete. Like this is a half-formed world. You know, there's places where there should be things that all there is this sort of gray mist.
Yes, sir.
All right, so you're going to go to the taxidermy shop?
Yeah.
All right. There are no locks, so it looks like you could just push open the door.
Okay. So we do, or I do.
Is there like a sign out front? Like we're in a different time period, so it's clear. Like it's not even the taxidermy shop, I assume.
Well, there is a sign, and you could almost say it's the same sign that Wellington has on his shop, except in this case it looks really old and really like it's been damaged by the weather for 150 years.
Okay.
Should we knock first?
Well, no, the door is open, and it's a shop. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As you go inside, the first thing that assails you is the smell. Wellington's shop actually didn't smell bad at all. It smelled mostly like sawdust. But this shop smells like rotting meat. And it's more or less the same, except that it is lit by torches, not electricity. And the taxidermy job is terrible. These things don't look like they've been very well made at all. They're falling apart. They're looks like they were done when they hadn't been gutted. They're still rotting. It's really quite unsettling. But other than that, it's recognizably the shop. It's just everything seems shoddy and damaged and.
Excellent. So I will call out, hello, anybody here?
There's no answer.
Tom,
Yes.
I I assume that we're wearing our clothes from when we fell asleep. So we're wearing our normal day clothes in the Dreamlands, or no?
Yes, you are. You're in what you were dressed in.
Are things that were once in our pockets now no longer in our pockets? Like how we tried to bring the pen in, but the pen didn't work?
Correct. Then nothing came with you.
Ah, shit. All right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll have a look around. First, the first level first. I'll go into the shop and look around.
Okay, it's as I say, it's pretty much the same except that things are rotting, and more spectacularly, when you get to the back room, uh, it almost looks like that same deer carcass, except that it's literally bloody and gory, and there's guts, and it's in a horrible, horrible state.
Hmm.
Do we need to do a sanity check or no?
No, because I think by the time you get to it, you're expecting it to be that way.
All right. Then I'll take a look upstairs. See if anybody's up there.
All right.
Is this sort of is this because it's more a representation in the Dreamlands, or does it seem like there's a taxidermist working here that just is really bad at his job?
Yeah, or well, go ahead and do an idea roll. I'll sort of give you a theory that might, if you get it, I'll give you sort of a theory.
47, yes, out of 70.
It seems to you as if you recall something that Henry said, that the dreamlands themselves are composed of the thoughts and things of thousands and thousands and thousands of people over the course of hundreds and hundreds of years, and they sort of ultimately agree on what something is going to be, a tree or a dog or whatever, and that's what it is in the dreamlands. But in this case, it's almost as if this is composed of nightmares. It's and not very many of them, as if things are half formed, and if you think maybe if Wellington knew all about taxidermy, that it wasn't enough to reproduce the taxidermy shop exactly the way it was, because too many people don't know what it looks like on the inside. So they think it's full of dead animals. It's full of dead animals.
Okay.
That's just that's the theory. You don't know if that's true, and
Uh-huh.
I don't even know if that's true, but in this case, that's what seems to be there.
So almost like the world is being created not just from Edgar's point of view, but everyone around us who has seen Edgar's shop. And
Right.
yeah, okay.
Maybe that would also explain why there's some areas that there's nothing, because
I'm having a sort of a theory of my own. I'm thinking because now that Edgar is dead, he can no longer sustain what he dreamed this particular son would be like. In his journal, if I remember correctly, he loved coming to this place, and seeing it in this state, I don't see how a person like that would love to come to this place. So I'm thinking that he probably had more power over this when he was alive, and now that he's not, things are sort of falling apart.
Sounds really interesting. Okay, so you said you were going to go upstairs?
Yeah.
Upstairs, it's different. There's no kitchen. Where the kitchen was, there's just a door painted on the wall. And where the bedrooms were, where William's bedroom was, there's just a door painted on the wall. Where Edgar's bedroom is, there's a door.
Okay.
But there's no doorknob.
I will go up and knock on the door.
Okay, there's no answer.
And I can't just push on the door.
Sure you can.
Okay, well, I'll try to push on the door to see if it...
It doesn't give.
Hmm.
Go ahead and do a listen roll for me.
Sure.
Is
So,
it? Sorry, Tom. Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to ask. Is it possible to maybe do a dreams roll?
Sure. What do you
Let's
want to
try.
accomplish first?
Just to open the door.
Okay.
Just to use manipulation of dreams to open the door. Got a 20. Let's do it.
Ooh.
Nothing happens.
Oh. Poo. Well, I mean, I got a 65 out of 20, so I failed anyways.
Ah, okay. So
Let me try to break down the door, like nudge the door with, try to shoulder the door open.
that's a strength roll.
Yeah.
Nudge the door forcibly.
No, I didn't make it. So.
Okay. So you bashed against the door and hurt your arm.
Yeah.
All right. And you know what? I'm going to give you this just because you did it. The door feels solid. It didn't give a millimeter.
So it feels like this door is sitting behind the
Like
stone.
there's a
like
solid
stone wall.
wall behind this door.
Okay.
So there's no other place you can go up here.
Okay.
Can I look at where the doorknob should be
Mm-hmm.
and tell if it's actual, like, inspect it close and see, like, if we just found the doorknob, we could just slip it in and turn it?
No, the door looks like it's made of wood, and it looks like it was made without a doorknob.
Oh, okay.
There's no there's no indication that there would be a doorknob there.
I'm thinking that if Edgar was in here, he would have the key to this door. So I'm thinking the scroll might be behind this door, and it's really the safest place to be, really. So if he only has access to it. Huh.
Almost similar to, like, our train cars, like you were saying before, where you have to imagine it and picture it.
Right.
And then you're sort of teleported into it.
Yeah. I'm also thinking that, well, let's head up to the church. Let's see what's going on there. Because I'm also thinking that if Edgar died while in this world, he might still be here.
Right.
He just might be confused or something like that, or depressed, or I don't know. But he might be here. So
That's true, because if he does control this world and he is dead and he's depressed, maybe he's actually changed the world.
yeah.
Yeah. Actually, could I try that, Tom, just while we're here?
What's that?
I'm going to try to imagine, since I've already been in the room earlier, I'm going to try and imagine close my eyes and imagine myself in his room.
Okay. Do a dreaming roll.
Dreaming. No, not at all.
Nope.
Okay.
And all this while, you can still hear the
bell.
sound of the bell off in the distance.
And it's still ringing. So
Yeah.
okay. Well. Okay, let's head up there.
Yeah.
All right. So you're going to go back downstairs, back through the rotting corpses, and you're going to go out the door. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Now you can do a sanity roll, because the door that brought you here is no longer there.
What?
And I failed.
And I failed as well. Wow.
Computer die, you're killing me.
As did I.
You can take, let's say, one to 2 damage. So roll a 4-sided dice and divide it by 2.
Okay.
2, okay.
2 points.
Okay. So you are noticeably distressed by the fact that the door is now gone. In that direction, the road just goes a few feet farther down and disappears into a kind of a gray fog. The church being in the other direction. You're going to head towards the church?
Yeah.
Yes.
To the belfry.
All right. Now, it's about, as you recall, about a half a mile up to the church, and the road winds a little bit as it goes up. So as you start going, and you do notice other people walking in that direction, as I say, they've all got kind of blank faces. They're all dressed in sort of medieval garb.
Blank is in expressionless?
Yeah.
Okay.
And once again, they're like not talking to one another. They're just going.
Okay.
As you go, there are a number of cross streets. And you get to the very first cross street. And as you're standing there, you look down the side road. And there's just kind of a wall of mist. But this feeling comes over you like there's something I'm missing. There's something important here. And as you think that, the mist sort of wafts away, and you're looking down the alleyway it looks just like the alleyway of a street, except that there's a huge hole in the ground, almost like the entrance to a cave, and there's a horrible, freezing cold wind blasting out of this hole in the ground right at you, and it's freezing. You can feel it, and it's almost painfully cold. And you're looking towards this cave, and it's black inside that cave, and you have the most horrible feeling that something terrible is about to come out of that cave.
Okay.
And as you sort of, you sort of tremble for a moment, and you sort of grab onto each other like, holy shit, something's going to happen. The gray mist comes back, and the whole thing is gone. Okay. Do an idea check. All three of you.
Come on. Give it to me.
Made it. More than
Fail.
half.
It suddenly dawns on you that you've been taking drugs.
Okay.
Okay? So anyways, you move on. Okay? You think to yourself, wait a second, I am currently taking drugs. And that was like a bad trip.
Okay.
Okay. As you move forward, you come to another side road. And when you look down it, once again, you see for a moment a gray mist. And a procession of people suddenly come out of that mist. And they're dressed in costumes of some sort. At least you think they're kind of costumes. The first one that comes out is a man in armor, a soldier. And following him is a lion, except that the lion has wings. Followed by a Turk, a man with a turban on his head, and then a man dressed like an assassin in black with what looks like small daggers in his hand. After that comes a young man, dressed in like, what would you say, folk-like clothes? Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
A peasant.
Like lederhosen, but not lederhosen, something like that.
Safety dance guy?
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's in some traditional sort of clothing. Followed by a girl who's dressed in the same clothes. And then right behind them stands an angel with big wings, big white wings. Followed by Death, a man in black with long sickle-shaped thing.
Scythe, yeah.
A scythe, yeah. As they walk by, and they literally walk right by you, You can see that they're all weeping tears, but the tears are blood, and they're steaming on their faces, and almost like they're burning them, or their skin is cold and the blood is hot. They're chanting something in Latin, which you don't quite understand.
I have Latin.
Yeah, but you don't. It sounds like Latin, but you're not quite getting what they're saying.
Okay.
And one of them has an incense thing, like the Catholics use, and they're swinging it back and forth. And then all of a sudden, um, uh, the lion, who's got the wings, suddenly leaps into the air and literally flies away over the buildings. And they all walk into the gray mist, and they're gone.
Question.
Uh-huh.
The knight. Is he similar to the statue that was in the center of Lausanne?
Well, the statue of Otto the Godson was a crusader. So yeah, you could say this one's dressed like a crusader.
Okay,
Although he doesn't have his missing hands, and he does have a sword.
Okay, but it looks like the statue.
Yeah.
So I can.
Maybe not exactly, but that sort of style.
Okay.
Part plate and part chainmail.
Okay.
And then he's gone. So, once again, drugs. You move on. You get to the 3rd Street. As I say, it's about a half a mile, so there's a few streets on the way. The 3rd Street's weird, because when the gray mist parts, there are garlic not cloves, whole heads of garlic, thrown all over the floor, all over the ground, all over the cobblestones. Each of them is sprouting greenery coming up, and they're all just lying there on the floor, hundreds of them. And you can smell the garlic, and I want you to do a spot hidden.
Come on, computer die. That's not showing me anything. Let's do it again. I failed spectacularly.
So your response is, well, there's nothing to see here.
It's garlic.
I
beg to
failed
differ.
as well.
I beg to differ. I think I see something.
All right. What you see is what you don't see. Oddly enough, nothing on that street, not the garlic or any part of the building or anything else, casts a shadow. There are no shadows on that street. There's no shadows in the garlic. There's no shadows on the ground. Where they touch the ground, there's no shadow. And that's very, very strange. And then that all fades away. So, so you move on a little bit. Come to another crossroads. There's a few of these. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
The next one you come to, the mist parts, and there's an old woman, hunched over, osteoporosis hunch on her back. She's got a big old pot. She's stirring the pot. It's got a fire underneath it. And you can smell, it actually smells kind of good, like stew or something like that. And she looks up at you, and she says, "Ah, dearies, would you like some soup?" And she takes this big old frickin' ladle and sticks it into the pot and brings it up. And when she does, you can see that floating in the soup are fingers and eyeballs and all sorts of things like that.
I tell her, no thank you, ma'am. We've already eaten. But thank you for your generosity.
You can do a sanity roll for that. 0, 1.
Nope.
Pass.
Okay.
Fail.
Fail.
You take 1.
Okay.
And if you pass, 0. All right, the next street. This one's a little different. When you get there, there's no mist, but there's an old man with a beard. And he's dressed in a black tuxedo, and he's got a top hat on his head, and he's got a cane in his hand, and a little table next to him. And the table is got like a 3-clawed foot and a single spindle coming up, and then a little round table. It's a little tiny, like you'd see in somebody's hallway with a vase on it or something. And as he's standing there, he sort of pantomimes, nothing up my sleeves or anything like that. And he takes off his hat. You immediately think magician.
Mm-hmm.
And he sets the hat on top of the table. Now you realize that when the hat's on the table, there's no way you can get anything, there's nothing underneath the table but air and a spindle.
Mm-hmm.
So he takes his long cane, and he takes the cane and he drops it into the hat, and it disappears. And then he takes his hand and he reaches into the thing almost all the way up to his shoulder. But when he pulls back, his arm is gone. He then sets down he then oddly sets down on the floor, reaches up, takes the hat, and puts one leg into it and pulls it all the way up, and then his leg is gone. He does it with the other leg, and then he does it finally with his other hand, and the hat falls to the ground, and he's nothing but a torso lying there, and he says, "Ta-da!"
I give him an applause. Well done, sir. Well
And
done.
you're kind of freaked out.
So another sanity roll.
No. You're starting to get the idea that, okay, drugs. I am really having a weird trip. 2 more. Sorry.
I'm looking around at the guys next to me thinking, are they responsible for this, or am I responsible?
I think you're responsible. You're the American.
You come to a place where there's actually an intersection of streets. And it's a little bit wider and bigger than the other ones you've just seen. And in the center of the intersection, the cobblestone gives way to colored marble. And there is a large chess set laid out. Now you know it's human size, and all of the chess pieces are obviously people in costumes. And the black player and the white player are going at each other. Now, as you're watching this, one of the black pieces takes one of the white pieces. And when he does, he kills the person in the white costume. Slaughters him. So you can do a sanity roll for that one. Especially since it continues that way.
I did it.
I'm kidding. Yeah, get all these bad rolls out of the way. All right. So how much sanity did I lose?
Just take 1 for that. But the game continues, and it speeds up. As it does, it becomes a freaking bloodbath of the two sides going at it, like you're watching a war taking place right there on the chessboard. And when it's finished, the black king wins. And for a moment, everything is quiet, and then the black king looks over at the 3 of you. The 4 of you. Sorry, Riley's with you. He looks over at the 4 of you, and you guys feel really, really terrified for a moment. But then it all fades away. And you can move on.
Yes.
You're now noticing that there's a lot more people, because you're getting close to where the church is. There's maybe one more intersection before you get there. And indeed, when you get to that intersection, you notice that in the center of it there is a little circle with a statue. But the statue looks like, from where you're standing, the statue looks like it's made out of wire, as if somebody had taken bunches of wire and spun it around and formed it into what looks kind of like an angel. And hung on this angel are what look like pieces of cloth, or maybe like robes, but they're tattered and they're hanging there. And from where you are, you suddenly hear this sound coming from what you think is the statue. And it sounds like a woman's voice, and it is the most beautiful, beautiful thing that you've ever heard. It almost reaches down into your soul, and it makes you think of times when you were very happy and very sad. It's just soul-stirring. But in that same moment, you notice that the cloth that's draped all over it isn't cloth at all. It's human skin. That one you can do a sanity roll.
God damn it.
And that's a 1-3.
I did it.
That was. Alright, okay, well.
Are you insane yet, Wayne?
I'm getting there.
Bit by bit.
All right. So, you guys are obviously disturbed and shaken. And up ahead of you there is the town square in front of the church. And you can see that there are a few hundred people now. And they're all gathered in front of a dais. And up on the dais in the very center, there are three people on the dais. Let me describe them. Or what you think at first are three people. In the center, you recognize the statue of Otto the Godson. It's a knight in armor, but with missing hands and missing sword. And it's very obviously a statue. Okay. On the left-hand side, there is a person dressed in a long black robe. Their face is hidden. Kind of reminds you of Death that you saw a few minutes ago. But this is a much bigger person, obviously. And I don't mean taller, I mean fatter. And on the other side of the statue is Edgar Wellington. And he is in chains, and he looks like he's been beaten, and he is downcast, his eyes down to the ground. And the people are between you and that, so you're looking over the crowd at that. And about the time that you've comprehended that that is Edgar Wellington up there, the voice, the other man who's up there, the guy in the robe, his voice rings out, and he says, "Before us stand a man accused of grievous crimes. His criminal conduct is withholding what is due to us, render him our enemy, and hence he must stand trial before us." And you know that voice. That's the Duke. He throws back his hood and sort of throws back the robe, making it into kind of a cape. And the man is dressed, for all intents and purposes, in kind of like leather armor. But it's leather armor that exposes large portions of his body.
Like executioner garb.
Yeah, okay, kind of like S&M garb. We'll say something like that, okay? Now, he's a big, fat, flabby man. Actually, he's kind of exceptionally flabby. And all over him are scars. And you can see that there are differences in color to his skin all over. He is, in fact, stitched together from numerous pieces of other people's flesh. kind of Frankenstein-like,
Hmm.
like a jigsaw puzzle. Okay. And as you're there, he says, as Prince and Protector of this realm, I appoint myself the judicial representative of the people of Lausanne. And he sort of snickers a little bit. And we'll see that this rogue gets his just desserts. And the crowd goes like frickin' wild. Not even in a nice crowd way, like in a manic sort of way. And the suddenness of their wildness is kind of disconcerting. They went from nothing to ridiculous.
Mob status.
Now he points it at Edgar, and he says, is anyone willing to take the part of the criminal in these proceedings? And the crowd goes dead quiet.
And I will speak up and say, I will.
Okay.
I step forward. Now, I have no weapons or anything like that.
As soon as you say, I will, the prince suddenly looks at the four of you and scowls, and he goes, you.
Yes, me. The man you stood up for dinner.
The crowd sort of makes a little channel for you to walk, and you can go up onto the stage.
Yeah, but I don't know about you guys. But...
Are the other guys going with you, or?
Yeah, let's do it. Come on, Frank.
I'll follow you to the stage.
All right.
And I kind of look back at Frank and I say, you remember how in the living world, I let you go first to take the dangers or whatever. Yeah, I'll do it this time. So, yeah, that dinner's included.
Much obliged.
So he watches you as you walk up on the stage with daggers in his eyes and with sort of a disgusting look on his face. He turns to the crowd and he says, so we need a judge. He says, is there anyone who wishes to offer himself to justice? And when he says justice, he puts his hand on Otto's shoulder, the statue. And the crowd, right in the front, the whole crowd goes kind of crazy. And the ones in front are raising their hand and they're jumping up and down, trying to get the prince's attention. And he looks around for a moment and he says, you, and he points it at one of them. Now when he does that, the rest of the crowd grab this guy and tear him to shreds. They rip his skin right off his body as he screams in agony. And you can do a sanity roll for that one.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah!
How much do I lose?
2 if you made it, 1 to 4 if you didn't make it.
2 feet. Oh, okay. 55.
Ooh, there's a 4.
I'm starting to lose my mind. No more drugs.
So once this has happened, someone in the crowd holds up the flayed skin of this man, and the prince takes a hold of it and drapes it over the statue. And he turns to the statue and says, you are the overseer. Determine the guilt or innocence of the accused at the conclusion of these proceedings. And when he says this to the statue, you suddenly notice that the statue's eyes open. Still metal. It looks like it's made out of bronze or something.
Still missing his hands, though, right?
Yes. And you suddenly hear kind of a creaking noise, and you realize that the statue is breathing. But it's as if it were made out of metal, and it's breathing. So it's that sort of as it's breathing, and it's making a wheezing noise as it's sucking in air and belching it out again. But other than that, the statue is completely motionless. Oh, hold on. I just got a thing on my screen. No, I don't want to update. It does that every time we're playing. Why does it do that? All right. The prince now looks very smug. And he looks at you and he says, I will allow you 10 minutes to speak to your to the defendant, the accused. I give you 10 minutes to speak to the accused.
All right. Well, before we even do that, what is he accused of?
We'll worry about that when the trial starts.
Oh.
Wait a second. Let me see if he tells you. Nope. You don't get that info yet.
All right.
So now, so far, everything that's happened, Edgar has just been standing there. He's locked in chains on his ankles, chains on his wrists, big heavy chains. He hasn't looked at you. He hasn't looked at the prince. He hasn't looked at the crowd. He's just kept his eyes down, and he's shaking all over. And he looks like he's been beaten.
Is he stripped of his clothing?
Not really. Part of it, yes. And the stuff that's on him is in shreds.
Okay. Is he now? You say he looks like he's been beaten.
Yeah.
Is it with like a whip, or is it just like?
Like he's been punched and he's black and blue.
Okay.
Especially around his face and around his arms. And he's whispering something, or he's saying something quietly to himself.
All right, I tried to listen on that.
Well, you're not. Well, you're kind of sure what he's saying. He's saying, "It's fine. This is just a dream. This is just a dream. All you have to do is wake up. It's just a fucking dream." Okay.
All right, so I'll come over to him, and I'll say, Edgar. I'll snap my fingers in front of him. Edgar, look at me.
So he sort of looks up at you. Okay.
What can you tell me? Oh. Do you remember? Do you remember me?
Yes, you're that. And he says, "Yes, you're that American fellow."
Yeah, the one that wanted to get your ravens from your shop.
I don't understand what's going on here.
This man, the man that you were friends with, isn't really your friend.
All I know is that they came to the shop and they broke down the door and they grabbed me and dragged me out into the street. And I didn't know what they were doing or why they were doing it, and they dragged me up here.
Do you remember anything before that?
I was in my shop and I was trying to retrieve something.
The scroll.
Yes, you know about that.
Yeah, I know about it. Thing here is, well, I can't go into it. We have just a small amount of time. But
I had no warning. They didn't even knock at the door. They just bashed the door in and
these type of men are known for doing that.
I didn't know they were police. I just thought they were thugs or something.
They are. They're the worst kind of thugs. So you said they dragged you into the street and they brought you up here and they started
beating. They beat me and they dragged me up here and I kept asking them, why? What are you doing? What do you want? And they wouldn't answer my questions. They just kept hitting at me.
What is he charging you with?
I don't have any idea. I didn't know I did anything wrong. And he says, look. You can get me out of here. I'll give you the scroll.
That's what I'm trying to do. You've come to this place before in your dreams?
Yeah, a number of times. I use a kind of a drug to get here.
And who gave you this drug?
The Duke did. I don't know why the Duke is dressed like that or why he's acting like that. I mean, he's always been so nice before.
He's an evil man.
And he's like crazy. He's like,
let's just leave it at that.
Why is he all cut up like that? And I don't. And about the time that you get that far, you hear the prince. He says, "All right, you've had long enough. Let's get on with this."
I look to the two of you, or the three of you.
All right.
And while I'm trying to, I'll whisper to the three of you, you, Riley, and or Eldridge, and Frank, and I'll try to keep them busy, and I'll try to, I'll keep them distracted. See if you can get them out of these chains, and try to look for an exit out of the crowd.
Well, you are up on a dais. You are the only things up there, so.
Is that
not to be noticed anything you tried to do like that? But, anyways, the prince says, "People of Lausanne, this traitor has refused to cooperate with the duly assigned officers of the realm, in that when he was summoned to present himself before the People's Court of Lausanne." He did kick, scream, and protest mightily, and thereby create an uproar in the street, to wit, causing unnecessary trouble for the officers assigned to conduct him to the court. Such behavior aims at undermining the authority of my rule, and represents a challenge to the law of my will. Were he innocent, he would be meek. Were he meek, he would be released in due course. These ancient precepts of my rule being violated, I call for the judge to find him guilty of this charge. And he stops there and just looks over at you.
So you said that he came into your realm kicking and screaming. Did you tell him why he was brought to your realm?
I'm not on trial here.
Well, of course the man is being abducted. The man is being abducted. The man has no reason, no understanding of why he's being abducted. He's asking why he's being abducted from his home. You give him no reason, and now you want to put him on trial because he was kicking and screaming.
He resisted arrest.
Of course, if some strangers came into your home and dragged you out in the middle of the night, you would want to know why. You would want to know who these people are. And if they give you no answer, of course you're going to protest. So your charges has no.
I don't need to have a reason. I'm the prince. He comes to me when I call, and he resisted.
He didn't know you called. Strangers came into his home. They didn't say that they were from you. They didn't say they were sent by you. They didn't identify themselves as your men. So. Now, what if it was one of your enemies and he was taken? You would want him to protest and kick and scream as much as possible, wouldn't you?
I would obey my liege.
He didn't know.
Anyways, your argument is feeble. Let's get on. He says, "People of Lausanne, the accused is a foreigner, and that his spirited defenders cannot deny. There the Englishman stands, living testimony to his guilt. We of Lausanne pride ourselves on the purity of blood. It is our strength and our glory, for it allows us to feel united under the common purpose of my will. His presence among us is like a cancer, drawing other foreign bodies," and he points to you, "who must be cut out." And the crowd kind of goes crazy and, starts yelling, yeah, get rid of the foreigners.
So he's a foreigner, but he is under your rule? That makes no sense. How's that? How are you his liege if he's a foreigner?
He came into my realm. He chose to come
But
here.
that doesn't mean that you're his liege.
He is exactly. He's a
So then how?
he's a foreign cancer on our
Well, you just contradicted yourself. So you just said that he was under your rule. How is he under your rule if he's a foreigner?
because he's chosen to live in my kingdom.
I raise a meek hand from the side, and I say, "Can I?"
By all means.
I take a step forward, and I look not to the prince, not to the duke, not to the people, but to the statue. I'm gonna try and persuade everybody. I point to Edgar and I say, "You say that he's a cancer. You say that he needs to be gotten rid of. He has brought other foreigners.
Because he's a foreigner.
You say, yes, you say this. And I am not in disagreement with you. And I'm not disagreeing with you that he has brought other foreigners, ourselves. But why shed the blood of a foreigner when he has simply kicked and fought strangers that he did not know broke into his home? Why not instead remove the cancer simply by moving the cancer? Allow it to leave."
That comes to our third charge. Do you have any other arguments?
Let's hear this third charge of yours.
People of Lausanne, we accuse this treacherous enemy before us with the possession of forbidden knowledge. Who knows what secrets a foreigner hides, and yet hide them he does. This guilty man before us today seeks only to deceive us, seeking only his devious advantage and not the advantage of his prince or his people. He entered our sacred realm in possession of that which only I, the ruler, may obtain. What does he plot? Why such concealment? Why hide cunningly what is mine by fiat? There must be some devious reason to do so. He must be punished, for he has secreted the scroll somewhere within this princely realm, like a mine ready to explode beneath our foundations. Were he to bring forth the scroll, I should have reason for clemency, but he persists in deceit. He mocks and deprives my boy, I don't know that word. He mocks and despises my will. I call upon the judge to consider the crimes of the accused and to determine him guilty as charged. He looks very smug.
I don't give a smirk. I just keep my normal face. And I simply say, and what if he is guilty? What do you plan to do with him? Do you plan on slaughtering him in the streets like barbarians?
We aren't barbarians. That's the law.
So let me ask you this: if you slaughter him, and you say that he has some sort of scroll, and you slaughter him, how are you going to retrieve this scroll then? The scroll will be lost to you.
I didn't say we would slaughter him today.
My appeal to the judge.
There are far more worse things than slaughtering someone.
Is to simply consider this: exile.
I don't think they want to exile this guy. I think this man right here, just by the look of him, he wants to torture Edgar, make him go insane.
But the prince is not the judge. The judge is the judge. And no matter how smug the prince is, the judge still determines whether or not he goes free and the punishment of said fiat. So, I suggest exile. the far reaches. Who knows whether he lives or dies? But he is removed. This cancerous foreigner, the forbidden knowledge, it leaves, and you, the prince, remain in power. There is now no longer anyone to question your rule. He leaves. And once again, who knows if he goes insane in the wilderness? Who knows if he dies in the wilderness? All you know is he is gone.
Outside, or as the GM, I just want to explain something to Thomas. You weren't in the last episode, but
No.
the thing is that this is Duke John Flores Astazasant is this guy, and he wants that scroll, and he knows,
Oh, I know.
and he knows Edgar wants it. He's not going to let him go. He's going to torture him until he gets it.
Once it, like,
There's
my
no
hope
way he's ever
is
going to let him go.
my hope is that the judge, because once again, at least I don't know the connection between the judge and the prince. I don't know if they're a single occultic body or anything like that. My hope is that we can get time, because time is really all we need. If we can provide more time, because at this point, there's nothing worse than him dying on the stage. We can only go up from there.
Here's the other thing you might not know, or you probably do, based off of the recap. But in the real world, he's already dead. So,
If he dies here, he dies permanently. Which again.
Well, he's already dead permanently. But I think this apparition that we see before us is his soul. So, yeah.
But if you. But we don't know if you kill a soul if it actually dies or if it comes back. Like I said, my only thought here is to buy us time. In buying us time, we may be able to save him.
I have an idea, and this is coming straight out of Game of Thrones. Trial by combat.
Oh boy.
If that's something you want to try,
I think the problem is you're already in the middle of a trial. You're trying to see another trial while the trial's going on.
My thought here is that they're already going to proclaim him guilty.
Yeah.
We need to accept that.
Yeah, the judge is under his control. That's why he's so smart.
You need arguments against his accusations. You have to counter what he's accusing.
Do they know that there is a real world and all this fun stuff?
Well, the Duke does. I don't know about these other people.
Would in that instance also mean the judge, the statue, would also then know that there is a real world and a dream world?
Well, the statue exists in the real world. It's in the church. It's in front of the church, the same place it is here.
But are they connected in that sort of way that it knows? Okay, thanks, Tom. Because they say that blood is the answer, that blood needs to be spilt, that that he needs to be justified. Technically, blood has already been spilt.
I can tell you that the statue of Otto the Godson, since he's like the big hero of Lausanne. He was a crusading knight. He came home triumphant, and then he ended up being governor, and he was beloved by all the people, and he was always considered to be a fair and impartial judge. So if that corresponds here in Dream Lausanne, then that's probably what he's going to be.
Yeah, hopefully.
I'm just thinking that he's spelled by the Duke with the whole flaying of the skin and tossing it on them. I think he placed a spell of some sort.
That's why in my head we can do two. There's two outcomes. There's two things we can try. There's one, he's already guilty. Let's try and exile him, buy us time. because at that point, he can take the scroll and we can all leave and he can just give us the scroll. Or we can fight the accusations, and the only loophole that I'm finding with the accusations is that here in Lausanne, blood means everything. That blood needs to be spilled because he's the accused and he needs to be punished. Technically, he is already dead. Blood has already been spilled. But I don't know if that logic transfers over into the Dreamlands. Because, like I said, technically the blood of his brother was spilled. He's dead. Edgar is dead. So technically, blood's already been spilled by the prince, no less. So, I mean, I don't know if that loophole will work necessarily, but it's there. I don't know if those rules apply in the dream world.
We can try it. I mean,
Okay.
the GM is not going to tell us.
I want you to notice, too, that you look over at Edgar, and he's looking at you like, please, God, save me.
Yeah, well, I'm trying, Dick. Give me a sec.
There's two things I'm thinking.
Okay.
The first thing I thought of is that the Duke is actually from France. So he is actually a foreigner, too, technically speaking.
That's true.
And although it might be dangerous, we might be able to question his authority as to who made him prince.
I guess we can do really everything. Like, we can do all of our three things.
That plus
Yeah.
the fact that what is his name? The statue. He was once ruler, so we can ask the statue how did he give up his rule to this prince.
And then my second idea was that we flip that and just try to appease this guy's huge ego. And, try to, clearly you're the great prince, and your time should be better spent than on dealing out justice on the small peons such as this. And
Yeah, but the problem with that is that he knows that Edgar has a scroll. That's what he's really seeking. And
Yeah.
we can't let them get the scroll because they are who we're going up against.
So what if we tried everything? What if we just tried everything? If we just poke holes in the argument every way we can, with he's a foreigner, with blood's already been spilled, with with all this stuff,
Okay.
and we just see where that goes, and we each take our turn and we each poke a hole in his argument.
Sure. I'll let you go first.
Okay. So I look to Edgar and I hold out my hand and I say, "People of Lausanne, do you wish this man's blood to be spilled?"
And they're like, they start cheering. Yeah, we want his blood. Yeah. They think that'd
And
be
I-
awesome.
Yeah. And then I look to the Duke and I say, "His blood has already been spilled."
He says, I am not interested in spilling his blood. I am interested in obtaining what is mine by right.
But
And if I don't get it, I'll lock him up and torture him until I do get it.
then this is not a trial. This is an inquisition.
He has broken the rules.
I'll jump in at that point and I'll say, so what claim do you have then to the scroll? What makes this your right?
Because I rule this realm. Everything in this realm is mine.
Who gave you power over this realm?
I did.
And how did you attain this power?
By doing it.
By doing it?
It's mine. Does anyone contest that I am the ruler of this realm? And it's dead silent.
I look to the statue and I say, how about you? You once ruled this wonderful land. How did he take this land from you?
Statue doesn't do anything. It's just doing what it does.
Exactly.
Just breathing.
You know what? I look jumping on Jeff's back here. I look at the prince and I say, "What's outside of the city?"
Nothing.
Nothing. So if you were to go out and show us, there would be nothing.
What is your point?
If you are the creator of this land, then you should either know what's outside because you created it, or you should create something from nothing.
This has no bearing on this trial whatsoever.
It does.
Do
We're
you have
questioning
any, do you
your.
have any more? Do you have any more arguments?
This is an
I'm
argument.
not on trial here.
No, but he is, and in turn, so is your claim to what is his. So once again, I ask, what's outside? If it's nothing, make something.
I'm not sure I understand what your argument is.
He's trying to have you show a bit of your power. If you of course claim that you created this place and that this place is yours by right, he says, prove it. Create something.
Yeah, prove us wrong. If he is the true, if he's the magister, if the world came into being because he made it so, then he should be able to provide us with some conjugal physical proof before us. And not some dinky-rinky little, oh, look at me, I can do a magic trick, but provide more to this realm.
You want magic. There is far more power in the flesh than there is in magic. And
we're not talking about.
He points to a guy in the crowd, and he says, "Kill him," and the crowd tears him to shreds.
That's just
power.
no. That's fear.
Says, I'm not on trial here. If you're done with your arguments, then let's finish this thing.
Can I lean down next to Edgar and say, are you willing to give him the scroll?
He's like, I'm willing to give you the scroll.
I'm sorry, what?
He says, I'm willing to give you the scroll.
Have we mentioned the French thing? Let's mention the France thing.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the one last thing we got before closing arguments.
Well,
yeah, you go for it.
Yeah, Wayne, or not Wayne, Jeff, you do it.
I think I brought it up because I was questioning his authority too as to who put you in charge, and he said, I did, I made this.
No, he means the part about the fact that one of the accusations is that Edgar's a foreigner.
Yeah.
And so is the prince.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I'll pick out that line then, and I'll say the Duke Jean, and I'll call him by his full French name.
Duke Jean Florisast.
And I'll say, isn't it a fact, sir, that you also are a foreigner of this land and that you came from France itself?
And he looks at you and he says, what makes you think that?
That's what you told me.
I've never seen you before in my life.
And I'll turn to the crowd and I'll say, that, people of Lausanne, is a lie. We have met this man before and he has told us that he is from France.
Enough of this. Let's finish this thing.
No. Wait a minute. That is an interesting question. You claim that Edgar is a foreigner of these lands, and you yourself are also a foreigner. So how does a foreigner?
You keep trying to put me on
because
trial.
we're questioning your authority here. You're claiming that you have the utmost authority over here. You're going around. You're putting him on trial because he's a foreigner, and yet you're a foreigner as well. So how are you going to punish somebody for the same crime that you've committed yourself? So if he is to be punished, you should also be punished as well.
Or you must release this man and acquit him.
Yeah.
For he has committed no crime intentionally
that you yourself haven't committed. The Duke, the Prince of this land.
He says, "All right. Obviously, you've run out of arguments." And he's like, "Let's finish this thing."
Wait a minute. You said you're the prince, right?
He's like,
So
"I call upon
where's
the
the
judge."
hold on? Where's the king and the queen?
I call upon the statue. I call upon Otto the Godson to render judgment in this matter. And the statue continues to wheeze for a moment, and it breathes. And then one of its hands begins to move, and it points at you guys. And the prince looks pissed. Okay. What? That's an outrage. How could they be the winners, the ones who won? And the crowd's all murmuring, like, what? What just happened? And as that verdict is rendered, the chains just fall off of Wellington. And when they do, he kind of collapses in, I guess, in relief or possibly still terror. He's pretty weak. You'll probably need to help him.
Yeah, I go over to him, and actually, when he started to fall, I would have gone over there to try to catch him.
So the prince is kind of pissed, and he's pacing back and forth. You can tell he's trying to think up something. So what do you guys do?
We get the fuck out.
Yeah?
I was trying to think if there's a way we could capitalize on this too and to take it even further.
I think we should just thank the statue, you know, because clearly it is the true decider here.
Wellington says, "Get me back to the shop."
Okay. So we're gonna head that way.
All right. And explain what you're doing, okay? The crowd sort of gets out of your way, but they're angry. They're, making faces at you. And
yeah, and I say, if you're going to be angry at him, and I point at the prince. He's had you in.
They ain't listening to you. They're like mindless.
They're thralls.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. But I mean, I'm not trying to convince them. But as they're
I'm asking you if you're standing there talking to them.
No, as I'm walking through.
Okay.
As I'm walking through, and they're giving me angry glances, I say, as I'm walking through, don't get angry at us. Get angry at him.
Can I ask speed?
As fast as we can go.
All right. You get through the crowd, and you have to kind of help Edgar.
Mm-hmm.
You're just a little bit down the road. You're still very close to the top, and you suddenly hear the prince up on the jigsaw prince up there on the dais, and he suddenly yells out. He says, "Today we have seen justice only partly done." He says, "What of the foreigners who defended this criminal? What of their conspiracy?"
And as he's talking, we're stepping even faster.
Okay.
I'm like, Edgar, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to run.
And he's like, "Bring them back." And the crowd suddenly turns and starts heading in your direction.
And
Now,
it's time to run.
Full move 8. Let's do it. Full move 8. Let's just go.
okay. So as you are running down the cobblestone, this is what I need to do. You're running down cobblestones. And having just been in Rome, they're not easy to walk on. So I imagine they're really not easy to run on. Go ahead and do a dexterity roll And I'm only going to say that you trip if you get like 98, 99, or 00. Cross your fingers.
Dice, don't fail me now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, my dex is a 70, so.
All right.
I failed, but not with a 98. I got a 75.
Okay. You stumbled a little, but you didn't fall. All right. All right. As you're running, now it's like I said, it's about a half a mile. You start to realize that, you know, Edgar's not well. And, I mean, he's been beaten and mentally he's not altogether quite there yet. But he is running along with you. You realize, though, that it's slowing you down just a little bit. And in that sort of mental calculation that most people do, you think, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it back down to the taxidermy shop by the time that crowd gets to you.
I know where you're going to have us go. Hell's bells. All right.
No. Okay. So you're running, and that sort of fight or flight kicks in. Well, the flight kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
You find that, wow, I didn't know I could run this fast. Because you're like really hightailing it at this point, in terror for your lives. You suddenly notice something small and gray and different colors coming out of buildings all around you. And as you sort of glance back the way you would towards the crowd, you suddenly realize that cats are coming out of the buildings. They're coming out of the windowsills. They're leaping over doorways, over walls, and they're running with you. At first on your sides and then behind you. And within a few moments, there's, dozens of them. And then there's hundreds of them. And they formed a kind of a sea behind you of cats. And as you're running, you suddenly notice all the cats just suddenly stop in their tracks, turn around and sit down facing the crowd that's running at you. And you also notice that the crowd, as they start to come to the cats, they begin to hesitate, like they don't know what the hell they should do. And there's a couple of brave assholes who try kicking some of the cats, and when they do, the cats attack. And that particular person suddenly has dozens of cats all over him, scratching and clawing and everything else. So they're giving you the opportunity to get the hell away.
I say thank you, ghosts in your ken, and I had hightail it out of there.
All right. So as you get down the street, you come to the taxidermy shop, and Edgar's like, "Get me inside. Get us inside." He says, "We can barricade the door from the inside." So you get inside and barricade the door, and Edgar just collapses on the floor in exhaustion. He's panting, and he's been beaten, and it really hasn't been his day at all. And he points and he says, "The bear. It's in the bear."
All right, so I'll go over and go through the bear.
Okay. The bear is a big, full-size bear standing up on its haunches, with its claws out in the front.
Mm-hmm.
Except that it's rotting. So, how are you going to handle this?
It's sewed up inside the bear?
Well,
there
are sewing marks, but...
No, I'm just saying, I'm turning and asking him as I'm approaching the bear.
He says, "I jammed it down its throat."
All right, so I'll go and try to grab it by its throat. Stick my hand down there. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Does he have any tongs or anything like that?
Nope.
There's no time to be delicate, man. Just grab it.
All right.
Yeah, doctor. You're a PhD. Do it.
Constitution roll to see if you lose your lunch.
Oh, okay. Is that it?
Is that it? Don't tempt the GM.
I make it. No, I was thinking of something more horrible. But
All right. Well, you sort of like this.
okay.
But as you reach your hand inside, it's all slimy and icky and but you feel something that feels maybe like a leather case or something.
Okay.
Excuse me. And you get your fingers on it and you pull it out, and in fact, it's a leather case, about yay big, about this big around,
Okay.
and it's got like a leather handle,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
leather handle on it, and Edgar's like, now we have to get upstairs.
All right. We'll take him upstairs.
Okay. As you're going up the stairs, now you hear bashing at the door behind you. Okay. The crowd's obviously gotten there.
Okay.
And Edgar says that he points to his bedroom door. He's like, the door.
All right. We tried the door earlier.
Okay. When you get up to the door, he puts his hand on the door like this. And when he does, the door swings open. And inside the door, it's pitch black. Okay? It's almost a palpable, almost like a physical blackness. And he goes inside like this. And he sort of pushes his way inside with you.
Okay.
If you're following.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. You suddenly feel actually quite comfortable. And you realize that the blackness inside the room, it's the blackness inside your own eyelids. And you blink your eyes and you are in your hotel room, wherever you were, in your chair,
Mm-hmm.
lying on the bed or whatever. And you're not like coming out of sleep. You're like fucking wide awake. You're adrenaline rushed awake. Okay.
So we wake up with a start, basically.
Right. And just as that's happening, Dr. Xavier is standing there. You hear him go, "What the devil?" like this. And he's looking over into like the corner of the room. Okay. As you open your eyes and you look over, you see Edgar standing there, and he's saying something, but there's no sound, and his hand's out like this. Okay. And Dr. Xavier has jumped back like, what the hell? And he's going like this. And as he's saying this, you see him sort of fade away very slowly. And then Edgar's gone. Do a sanity roll for that one.
How many sanity rolls is this one?
Uh-oh.
Ooh, critical.
Oh, man. All right, how much do I lose?
Just 1 point.
Okay.
But poor Edgar didn't have a body to come back to.
Right.
Okay. And you have the scroll in your hand, or you have the case in your hand.
All right.
Amazingly. And it's still kind of gooey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
The Duke will be back. He knows that we're here.
Yeah, so I say, what time is it?
Probably late.
Well, it was,
Yeah, it just depends on how long we were sleeping.
It was late when you got to the place. You came back. You realize it's probably about 4:30 in the morning.
Okay, and when's the next train?
Next train leaves at 5:57 a.m.
Let's boogie. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's boogie. Go.
All right. So you go down to the concierge desk, which is always manned in a good hotel,
Mm-hmm.
and you tell them obviously that you're going to go. So they get all your bags, they transfer them to the train station, and obviously you're going to get on the train.
Mm-hmm.
We won't go into all the details. Obviously, it happens exactly the way that you think it would. So, you've gotten on the train. You've been assigned, cabins, and you get on the train. And now it's not going to leave maybe for another 20 minutes. What would you guys like to do?
All
Probably
right.
hungry.
Yeah, I'm not hungry.
Yeah, you guys are starving.
Yeah.
You feel like you've burned a week's worth of food in that place, running and.
Doing all that. Okay. I'm gonna go into my cabin. I'll have the rest of the guys come to the cabin as well, and I will open up the scroll case and have a look at it.
Okay. Inside the scroll case, you have the scroll. Okay. It has a wax seal on it. It's obviously very old. And wound up inside of it is a piece of modern paper that has a translation on it.
Oh, sweet beggar.
Let me go ahead and show you, first of all, the scroll. I mean, I showed it to you in my hand, but I did.
See, this is the part where I wish that we were doing this in person, so I can actually look at the props.
Yeah, that's why I love making props. And I made this. I was very careful about the contents, so to speak. I believe there's actually two sides.
And they read it from right to left, correct? Isn't that how Arabic is read?
I think that is correct. What the hell am I doing? Yeah, there's two sides to it. And this is the side that actually is on the outside. And the way that it's rolled up is this, the one that looks like a head is the one that's on the outside of the scroll. So, this, once again.
I wasn't done reading that.
I love props.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
All right. Now, you also have the fake scroll, which is just a wound up piece of paper. It's not written on, but you realize that, if you didn't unroll it, you might be able to pass it off as a fake, which is probably what Edgar was going to do to sell it to you and feed his addiction. You probably want to know what is on the piece of paper.
Yeah.
And that where is it? I got it here. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but what I wrote here, it says, the scroll is a rambling, the ramblings of obviously a madman. And here's an example. It says, I have seen the powers which stalk the night and strike fear into the hearts of those who worship the false god. I know him and I worship him. The skinless one has spoken to me. He whispered secret words into my heart of hearts, and I know what I now must do. I have seen it in visions, and it is all that my Lord said it was. In my dreams I have seen its perfection striding above the ruins of cities. Kings and countries have fallen before it. Even gods must fall before it. I recognize it the first time I beheld it as an object of power, power that would bring the world to its knees. It glistened like the finest pearls. It woke when I flayed alive the wretch who sought to steal my treasure from me. That night he came to me for the first time and told me what to do. I meditated before its glory. All praises to the one without skin. I performed the 17 devotions and felt and opened it for the first time. Within the artifact was soft and smooth. As I ran my hand across across its inner surface, it felt like the skin of a newborn babe. I offered 4 children as sacrifices to the Master. Then I used it for the first time. In his wisdom, the Lord of naked flesh had made it to my height. In all modesty, I believe it was made in my image. Blessed is the chosen of the skinless one. I have been careful to keep it untarnished, the substance of its color of purity, and should not be tainted by that which is unclean. And it goes on and on and on and on like that. Here's what you learn from this, from reading through this. The scroll was written by Sedevkar the Osmanli. It concerns an item in his possession, the Sedevkar simulacrum. In this scroll, Sedevkar prophesies that he is soon to lose the simulacrum, and so praises it and makes a record of it in a set of 5 scrolls. This scroll is the first of the 5, and it is referred to as the Scroll of the Head, being the thoughts and histories of Sedevkar. The 4 missing scrolls are the Scroll of the Belly, concerned with the worship of a being known as the Skinless One, the Scroll of the Legs, a series of body-affecting magics, the foundation on which Sedevkar's power was built, the Scroll of the Right Hand, a ritual which awoke the statue and is the driving force of Sedevkar's power, and the Scroll of the Left Hand, containing a ritual which balances this power, a necessary ongoing sacrifice. The scroll is a rambling, insane document. The author did not set down events in any form or order, making it difficult to follow. The most detailed descriptions in the document dwell on the torture and skinning of human beings.
Fun! Sounds like an awesome dude. I want to party with him.
So, you have the scroll. What are you going to do now?
I'm going to keep an eye out and make sure that we weren't followed or we don't have any tails. So,
the train is starting to leave.
Being Eldridge, I am going to go get food because I am hungry, and whether or not they come with me is none of my business.
If you would be so kind as to bring me back something.
What do you want? What is there on the train? Sausages?
Anything, something that'll fit in your pocket.
All right, I'll bring sausages back.
I'm not comfortable with leaving what we just got, until we get on our way.
Everett's going to go with you, Eldridge.
Okay.
And the other 2 are going to stay behind?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, this is going to be Eldridge and Everett.
Okay.
You get to the dining car,
All right.
and people have just gotten on the train, so a lot of them have come to the dining car, and they're people are ordering food, and they're sitting, and you take seats next to the window, and the train has started to go, and the waiter comes over and he says to you, what would you like to eat?
What do you have prepared?
They hand you a menu.
Okay. Belgian waffles and sausage, please.
All right. And he takes your order, and he goes to the next table, and you hear him ask, and what would you like, sir? And you hear a voice from the next table, and it says, I think that I'll join my friends for breakfast. And it's the Duke's voice. And you see him stand up, and he comes over to your table. And he's like, hello, gentlemen. Where are your friends?
I simply power play him. I simply stare at him.
He leans forward, and he says, listen to me. He says, I want that scroll. He says, I want the scroll, and I want it now. And you don't want to mess with me.
I lean forward, straight faced, just Eldridge's plain normal, just like dumb looking face, and I say, we're in a public place in the middle of the day on a train.
And you murdered 2 people in Wellington's shop, or at least that's what everyone will believe. Give me the scroll.
I lean back, and I look over at Everett. Can you play as Everett?
Or you can play as Everett.
I
I don't want to play as a character. One or the other. Any of you can play as Everett.
All right. Okay, so I look at Everett and I look back at the Duke and I say, my friend will go retrieve the scroll. Does that sound fine?
Yes.
I will sit here as collateral.
And he looks up at Everett, and he says, if you try anything funny, I want you to understand something. And then he looks over at you, Eldridge, and he goes like this. And when he does, it feels like somebody just took a lit cigarette to your face. Okay?
Yeah, crap.
You like go, shit. Okay? And then he pulls his finger away and he goes, that's just a taste. He says, go get the scroll.
Okay, so I nod, and I lean forward.
And the Duke grabs a chair from the other table and he pulls it over and sits down, and looks at you with just the smuggest look on his face.
And I just give him full eye contact with my normal face as Everett leaves to go grab the scroll, which my intent is he will bring the scroll back.
He also says to Everett, he says, you have 3 minutes.
Is he by himself?
Who?
The Duke that we know of.
Can I do a spot hidden to make sure?
In a room full of a whole bunch of people.
Can I do a spot hidden to see if there's anyone looking over, like their back is turned, but they're slightly looking towards the side?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. I know. Whoa! Critical.
Ooh.
Okay. What you notice is no more than what you would expect in any place. He's talking low enough to where you couldn't really overhear him from the next table, and you hear the din of everybody else is talking, chatting with friends, laughing, whatever. So you don't notice anybody in particular that he might be in cahoots with.
You are quite confident, I say as I undo my my napkin and put it on my lap.
He's like, of course I am. I always do. He says, we've just gone to a great deal of trouble. All that would have had to have happened was for Edgar to have given me the scroll to begin with, and none of this would have happened. Or Edgar.
I put the napkin down.
I'm gonna say now you can play Everett and tell me what Everett does.
But I was gonna make a James Bond reference because I'm an editor.
All right.
No. We'll play as Everett. We'll come back. I'll remember.
All right.
Okay, so I'm Everett. I don't know what Everett does. I don't know what Everett his mindset. So I'm just gonna play him, like a normal character. Walk from the dining room back to the room. I knock on the door, letting them know it's me. I simply enter as Everett, sliding the door closed, turning my back to the door and pressing up against it to make sure that no one opens the door. And I look at Frank.
You guys notice that he's very distressed looking.
Okay.
I look at
what seems to be the trouble. Have you been followed?
Eldridge is sitting with the Duke.
Oh boy.
I knew this was going to happen.
Huh.
The Duke says that he wants the scroll. Eldridge is the collateral.
Well, we can test and see how good of a forgery this really is. And at the same time, we should also try to negotiate. Like, we might be able to get money out of this.
Yeah.
Not that we need it, but...
God damn it, Riley, what would you say? Why are you at a show right now? Okay.
So maybe we could do something like...
give him the forgery, give him the case, give him the forgery, and...
I'm thinking like maybe one of us takes the real document and the other takes the forgery. Riley goes back and says, we're going to make an exchange in a public place, right? Maybe in the dining car, I guess.
Okay.
Well,
you know what? You know what? Actually,
Okay.
I want to test something again, so you guys can go out with the forgery. I'm going to keep the real one, and I'm going to try this time to bring it into the Dreamlands. And since we're on a train, I mean, basically we could go back to the train in the Dreamlands anytime we wanted to, but now that we're on a train, I think we will have more of a powerful connection to get back to the Dreamlands, and I'm going to try to stash it there.
Is this OOC, or are we in character right now?
This is I'm saying this in character.
Okay, so in character, Riley is then going to say, but the Duke is here on the train. Like, he can go to the Dreamlands too.
He might not be able to get into our Dreamlands.
Yeah.
Because they did appear to be separate.
That
yeah,
plus there was multiple, although there was multiple ways.
Everett also tells you what the Duke did to Eldridge.
Yeah.
Oh, he can take it.
Do an idea roll.
I'm just kidding.
Which one of us?
Those of you who are there. So I guess not, because you don't know what Riley's...
I don't!
Make it. Sweet. Just make it, too.
Two things occur to you. Well, one thing's already occurred to you, that he doesn't know what the scroll looks like. Okay. The second thing that occurs to you is he doesn't have any idea about anything to do with the Sedefkar simulacrum. So if you actually gave him the real scroll, he would find out about that.
Right.
Does the fake scroll not mention?
There's nothing on the fake scroll. It's blank.
But he's also on the train, which means that he could easily just look at it and be like, "This is a fake," and then attack us on the train.
It's true, but you didn't know that it was a fake,
right?
When you first picked it up, because it's sealed with a seal like this one was sealed.
Yeah.
So he might just take it and go. Of course, he might.
That.
You.
That, I mean.
No, he wouldn't do that in public.
Yeah, and at the same time, we could say that this is what he handed us.
Or maybe we negotiate it so that at the next stop we give it to him, and say we will hand it to you at the next stop when people are getting on and off.
That could work.
That might work. That might work, but he seems like he's impatient, and
it might seem fishy too.
Yeah.
So but Riley says, if he has the power to do that to Eldritch, maybe he has the power to leave the train while moving.
You also still have the case.
Mm-hmm.
True. So it's up to you guys. Riley is just a talking head. There's no body.
Right. You've got. You're running out of time. He said 3 minutes.
Yes.
So take him the fake. We'll keep the real one here. I'm going to try to take the real one into the Dreamlands.
Wouldn't it be suspicious if we all didn't show up?
Well, no, because you two were out there, not us.
There's also another thing that occurs to you, Dr. Dawkins, and that's that your adrenaline's way up and you're wide awake.
That's what I was thinking too.
Okay.
You probably don't want to take that drug to go back to
No,
where.
I'm not going to take because that drug actually led us to Dream Lausanne. We don't want to go there.
All right.
So Riley holds his hand open, wanting the fake scroll and the box.
Yeah.
So we switch out. We put the fake scroll in the canister, the container, and
All right.
hand it to Riley, and we barricade the door.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Use the secret knock.
Okay.
Riley then walks back down the train cars, which means that Eldritch is sitting there with the Duke.
As soon as Riley steps into the dining car, you see the Duke stand up. And he's like, "Do you have the scroll?" Well, he sees that you got the scroll.
Do we have our food?
No, it hasn't come.
Oh, god damn it. Well, I mean,
only 3 minutes, so.
I look up at him and I say it's impolite to stand up during breakfast.
Well, he sees what's his name coming. I mean, so it didn't look that odd because some people stand up for women getting there, but
it doesn't matter. I'm gonna still say that to him because he's
anyway.
One.
He goes, "Quickly, give me the scroll." So does Everett give him the scroll?
As Eldridge,
I say do it, but do it reluctantly, like you're really losing something.
As Eldridge, I say, why do you want it so badly? Can you just give us that?
He's like, because it's magic. And he snatches at the scroll and he snatches it out of Eldridge's hand. And it's like, and he suddenly mumbles to himself. And he says, he's like, "God damn, you people are slow." And he opens up the top of it and sort of reaches inside and pulls it out just a little bit. And he's like, fine, and pushes it back inside. And then he reaches like into a pocket, and he's angry and he's mumbling to himself, and he's like, you see him pull out a string, a rope, small rope, and it looks like it's made out of braided horsehair or something, and it's maybe about 4 feet long, but it's been woven onto himself, so it makes a loop. And you see him sort of hold it to. It's hanging down. He holds it up to his mouth and he says something to it, and one of the mumblings that he says sounds like, "I'm almost out of range," but he says this, and then he flips the cord up in the air, and it sort of opens up. And it lands on him, and as it does, it falls over him, and he vanishes.
Wow, that's cool. You're a badass. You're evil, and I hate you, but you're a fucking badass. That's cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, here's the funny thing. Almost nobody noticed the Duke disappear. Okay? People are eating, people are talking, they're not paying attention. The one person that you're pretty sure saw the Duke disappear is the waiter as he was coming to your table. And as he comes up, he looks and he's like, "But where did the chair go?" Because the Duke and the chair both disappeared.
I hope the chair falls on his head when you.
But he doesn't say it like he's surprised. He says it, of course, like, "Oh dear, where has the chair gone?"
And Eldridge looks up and says, "With my friend, is that the food?"
Yes. Now the food. Yes. So.
Don't stand between a man and his food.
I'm hungry.
This is what happens. All right. No more drama at the moment. But
I like drama.
You're now on the train going to Milan. The trip is a 10-hour trip. It is it's about 6:15 in the morning because the train left just before 6. Um, this is the day that you all decide. Dr. Dawkins, while you guys are sort of putting your stuff away and knowing where everything is and safeguarding this and all of this, Dr. Dawkins, you reach into your pocket and you pull out the journal that you found in the very beginning, and you're like, oh, I forgot all about this. And next week, we will begin going through the journal, which means I need your 1890s characters, because you're going to act out the characters in the journal. Okay?
Cool. Sounds good.
So next week, 1890s. If you want, let's see. We're probably going to need a character. Well, I actually think that Riley has given me a character for himself. So we're going to assume that there are 4 of you. Okay? In the 1890s. You're friends with Professor Smythe when he was 35 years old in London, and we will pick it up from there. We'll start with you guys in this time sitting down and saying, "Oh, let's read the journal together," and that's where we'll go. All right?
Sounds good.
Can you remind me real quick the journal that you're referring to? That was Smythe's journal?
Yes.
And Dr. Dawkins was, you were in the rubble of his burned down house, and you were looking around, and Dr. Dawkins looked down, and there was like a leather case that was partly burned, but the journal survived on the inside.
And we haven't looked at it up until this point.
Right.
Okay.
Well, let's see. I would like to thank you all for being here tonight. I'd like to thank all of our viewers for watching. We hope you enjoyed our game session. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you liked our show, please give us a thumbs up. Please tune in next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the next episode of Horror on the Orient Express. Until next time, always remember, if there's no light left to guide your path, your only choice is to venture into the darkness. Good night, and good games.